night was freezing, my clothes was not enough, and I woke up with a nasty cold. Ignoring it, the first thing in the morning I finished depositing the yesterday loot, starting from spare clothes in the clothing rack. But I was interrupted by a Zed that reached my second floor while hearing my coughs. To keep my house clean, I had to deal with him on my roof. I was done with loot organization at 11 AM and took my truck for another loot run. As soon as I reached the road, I found the group I ignored yesterday. So I had to exit my car and fight them. The first was fast and easy to kill. After that, I aggroed 3 more and waited for the first one to reach his final destination under my boots. The other 2 decided to stick together, but was fast to fall, allowing me to defeat both of them without issues. Considering that the next one was slow, I took a moment to check the loot. While pushing him down, a second one tried to outflank me from the north, but I was quick to react and dealt with both of them easily. Turning around allowed me to find the next victim that finally got a belt for me. Later, looking around, I noticed 3 more approaching my location. They were too close to each other. This is why I forced the chase animation on the closest, and once he was far from his friends, I remodeled his face with my machete. Finally, I addressed the other 2 and got rid of them. 3 more started reaching my location. I tried to push the first, but the second was quite fast. He even was able to attack me, but luckily my clothes layers protected me from being injured. Time I got back control and the other one was able to grab me. But this time the automated defense animation was triggered, allowing me to push him away. To regain control of the fight, I decided to retreat a little and waited for the fastest one to charge forward. This allowed me to kill him easier before facing the stubborn one. I had no time to finish him that I had to push a newcomer. He fell on the ground from the first push, giving me the time to kill the one under my feet. Then I tried to deal with the other one, but he dodged my attack by getting up. So I pushed him back down before finally granting him peace. Another one came to ask for the same treatment, and who am I to deny the last wish to a dying man? At this point, only 2 slow one were left standing, but after dealing with those, 2 more emerged from behind the trees. I was able to pin to the ground the fastest one, but had to do the same with the slower one before I could finish them both. Finally, it was time to loot the corpses. Beside the usual stuff, I also found a fillet knife. Then I went back to my car, and a few meters up ahead, I saw a group blocking my way forward. I wanted to fight them away from the road. This is why I moved to the west off-road while checking my surroundings for more enemies to deal with. This allowed me to find only one past the white wrecked car. Then I was able to aggro a single member of the horde, but had to wait a while for him to reach me considering he was slow. On the other hand, he had a watch to give me. Seconds after, I heard someone behind, so I turned around and dealt with a Zed near the other road. Followed by the second member that took his sweet time to reach me. The other 3 was not interested in the pursuit, but one of them had to chase me when I was too close. Killing him forced the second to join the fight. Time I dealt with him that the last one decided to finally die as well. After checking my surroundings, it felt safe to go back to my truck and drive further. But I was wrong considering that a new zombie emerged from the tree line soon after. I waited for him to reach me on the other side of the road, and time to deal with him that another one decided to join the corpses pile. Later I heard someone climbing the fence, so I ran to his location to kill him before he was able to stand back up. Once done, I heard someone else behind the tree. Once he was on me, I guided him to the edge of the road and finally dealt with him as well. Walking along the fence, I found a new enemy that climbed over only to die by my hands seconds after. A little bit further there was another one, and I had to make him cross the road in order to keep it clean for my truck. Then I ran to the other side to defeat a newcomer that just climbed over the fence. I knew that there were more, so before going back to my vehicle, I started to check my surroundings while walking along the fence line. This allowed me to spot and kill one of them after the crossroad. Then a second one near the first one-story house. They tried to surround me. I had the time to kill the fastest one before I had to retreat. Behind, I found a new Zed that I pushed on the ground and finished before the closest behind me was able to try to execute a grab. a few seconds after I did the same with the next that tried to stop me from retreating. Finally, after the light pole, I turned around and dealt with the 2 pursuers. Then 3 more came one at a time to die. Another 2 crossed the road, seconds after I was able to push them down and tried to kill one of them before another troublemaker decided to join the struggle. I had to retreat, but the last one was able to hit me before I could start sprinting. Somehow the second missed his attack and I quickly turned around and pushed all 3 down. After failing to kill any, I decided to retreat a little bit more and check my injury. Thankfully, it was just a scratch that I bandaged immediately. At that point, I even was out of breath, so I reached the end of the road and climbed over the fence. To save my weapon durability, I killed the first with stomps. Then the second was able to hide from my attacks behind the trees. This gave him time to get back on his feet. After pushing him away, I climbed to the other side of the fence. Another tree messed with my attack, but luckily the Zed also had the same issue. This gave me the opportunity to finish him and had even the time to deal with the last one that just climbed over as well. After killing another one that wanted to die, I went back to where I was injured. This allowed me to find and wear back my hat. Time to loot the body pile in that location that another one came from the west. I struggled to kill him, but was quick enough to address his friend that attacked from the south. After that, I finally was able to reach the house I looted yesterday. This allowed me to rest on the couch and read 2 magazines that I thrown away afterwards. After that, staying along the road, I reached my truck, and after all of that trouble, it seems to be somewhat clear. But once I was close to the white wrecked car, I noticed a new group on the road behind it. Strafing backwards, I tried several times to knock down the first. Thankfully, the second was really slow, giving me the time to deal with the first before focusing on the second. Next, I crossed the road to reach the third of the group that was sleeping. It took several pushes, but once he was on the ground, I was able to one-shot him with my weapon. Finally, I was able to get back in my truck and drive till the blue van. Despite the 2 Zeds was somewhat passive, I still pulled over and started to fight the first. Time to finish him, and 2 extra started to chase me. After a small struggle, finally they were both on the ground, and they took only 1 hit from my weapon to die. While looting their corpses, another 2 reached me following the road. To my surprise, they both went down easily, and after they were done for, I finished looting. Later, a new fast Zed decided to join the dead pile, followed by a second slow one. At this point, I moved my car a little bit further to align it with the buildings on the opposite sides of the road. After that, I saw a group of 4 between the 1-story houses approaching my location. They were really slow, so I took this opportunity to line the first 2. The first was a little bit faster. This helped me to isolate him from the rest and kill him promptly. Then I did the same with the second. The other 2 were too close to each other, so I triggered the chase animation on the third. This allowed me to push him to the ground before I had to do the same to the fourth. Seconds after, they were dead, lying under my feet. While checking my surroundings, a new emerged from behind the blue van, and after dealing with him, I took his belt. Then I checked the map in order to remember that I already looted the 1-story house. For this reason, I crossed the road and moved toward the burned house on the other side. Unfortunately, there was no good loot in the shelves left untouched by the fire. Plus, I heard some Zeds behind the building wall, so I waited patiently in front of the window. This allowed me to kill 3 of them easy, and considering that the others weren't paying attention. I decided to loot the corpses, and one of them even had a beef jerky for me. Time I was done, finally, the other 3 noticed my presence and decided to climb through the window, only to find their head sliced in half by my weapon. Then the surroundings became quiet. This gave me the opportunity to take the curtain from the window. After that, I inserted a new battery in my flashlight only to open the map and tag this building as looted. At this point, I left the house while going to the east. This allowed me to spot a new group close to the other burned house. The first noticed me immediately, but was slow to reach my location and died quickly. The second was too slow. This made me lose patience and force him to chase me. This caught the attention of the third, but he also was slow, allowing me to kill the second before dealing with him as well. A little bit further between the trees, I found the fourth that was sleeping on the job. So I woke him up and taught him a lesson. After that, I decided to check my surroundings, but had to zoom back in and run away because I noticed a new enemy that was trying to sneak on me. Once I was ready, I defeated the troublemaker and took his watch as reward. Seconds after, another one decided to follow his friend Destiny, and he also had a watch for me. But for this one, I had to disable the alarm while looting it. This action allowed a newcomer to sneak on me, but I reacted in time, sprinting away. While dealing with the problem, I noticed another group of 3 appearing behind him. While retreating, I spotted the fourth. 2 of them began to chase me. So as soon as I was close to the previous house, I turned around and pushed them on top of each other. Hitting the first leveled up my long blunt. But after killing the second, I had to hit again the first to finish him. Time I was done, I had to address 3 more that was approaching my location. I pushed down the first 2 and tried to do the same with the third to finish him. But he was a stubborn one, buying enough time for the other 2 to stand up. To avoid losing control of the fight, I ran through the house and positioned myself behind the exit window. This allowed me to kill the first, but I failed to do the same for the second because the third decided to use the doorway instead. So I had to use more energy to push them down before I could finish them both. But at least after the fight, I was able to get from them a small backpack I could use as an extra storage. Time to loot it, that another 2 came from the north and the east. I easily dealt with the first, but had some problems defeating the second. Time I was done, I heard more incoming from my right. The first had something sticking from his back, and once dead, I found out that it was a kitchen knife that I took before fighting the second. Turning around, I noticed another one, and once dead, I became tired. Double checking the corpses, I found a handheld gaming console that I collected so I can dismantle it later in order to gain some electronic experience. Seconds after, I had to kill a new Zed that came from the west. This action resulted in falling out of breath. I lost the Moodle as fast as I got it, but while fighting another one incoming from the north, it came back. At this point, it was too dangerous to push further, so I went back to my car, and this time I decided to drive it backwards to save some time on reversing it. Also, once I was at the crossroad, to avoid to drive to my base through the corpses, I left it there and reached my base by foot. After that, I went inside my house and started depositing the loot in their corresponding storage. Before going upstairs, I tried to eat some jam in order to fix my bad mood and starvation. Despite I ate the whole jar content, it didn't help much with those issues. Disappointed in this day, I went upstairs to sleep in my bed, hoping that tomorrow will be a better day.